Well, it's not an international border, so like there's no fucking Mountie stopping you at the border checking you.
Yeah.
Right? There's not a bunch of fucking guys holding baguettes and wearing foo-foo hats that are sitting at the Quebec border waiting for me to go, hey, how are you, sir?
No, it's just a bridge that progressively gets worse the further you go across it.
It's actually not a bridge. And you know what? In the state of the highways in my region,
Oh, the roles have reversed, have they?
it's kind of yeah. Their section, a couple of their sections are a little smoother. They do have one when we're coming back, and I think I really like it. It's this curve right before the border. It's like the last exit before the border, and there is a wicked rut that'll send you into the into the barrier. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's trying to stop them from escaping. Like, I'm pretty sure the Ontarians went over and sabotaged that section of road to keep them from coming to our province. It's gonna get a lot of heat.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. PlainGuy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, it's been a week, that's for sure. How about yourself?
Today was my shortest day of the week, coming in at a nice, easy 11 hours.
Nice.
So yeah, it was. It's been a nice
day.
It's not going to get any shorter the way this week is lined up. I mean, tomorrow, I shouldn't lie. Tomorrow, my wife has been on me this week, especially because, it's home. It's pretty much home to bed a lot of times. And it's been, the other night's been 13, 14. You're home to bed. You might eat something, go to bed. So she's been on me all week. We were really hoping to do this recording last night. I know you and I talked about it, and I really wanted to do it because that way I could have tonight to myself.
And that was my reasoning behind it too.
I was all for it. I wanted it. It didn't work out. And I apologize for that. But the important part is that we are here. We are live. We are recorded. And we are coming to you guys for another week of the Towing Life podcast. So as usual, we would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for joining us and reminding you where to go to find us. Your questions, comments, concerns are all appreciated. You can find us in many places. The easiest, best way, head over to thetowinglife.ca. You can email us directly at thetowinglife@gmail.com or by finding us on Facebook at the Towing Life podcast. I know the names are all a little bit out there. At one point, we're going to uniform this all. If you haven't already as well, do not forget to submit for your recovery of the month. January, February, March, April has come up. We have awarded winners for all of these months. You can win a $50 Canadian Amazon gift card, as well as a spot in our 2024 calendar, which will be available for sale near the end of 2023. So don't hesitate. Get in your recoveries now. If you already submitted and you haven't seen it yet, don't worry. There's more chances to win. Every month we pick a new winner. So be sure to head over to towinglife.ca/recovery to submit your entry now. If you're watching over on the YouTube side, I figured that's why you were pointing down. I think it's that you were pointing at the recovery of the month.
Yeah.
But if you're watching over on the YouTube side, do not forget to leave a comment down below, hit a like, hit a follow, hit the little bell that lets you know when we get a new episode that comes out. Head over to Spotify, Amazon Music. You can find us anywhere. Rate and review. We always appreciate it. It continues to help the brand grow. And I'm telling you, I've been watching the numbers lately, G, and we have been on a growth spurt over on the Spotify and the audio side, Amazon Music, like I said, Alexa.
The YouTube as well, actually.
Really?
We had like 300 subscribers a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
I never did tell you. But no, we've been, the views have been looking pretty good on the YouTube side too.
Absolutely. Over on the audio side, I think we just hit, I think I forgot to do it. We're coming up on 26,000 overall downloads. So 26,000 downloads. We could not do it without each and every one of you that tune in.
How
week
many
after week.
different emails have you set up to make different accounts just to download all our episodes to inflate those numbers?
I'm on my 4th phone this month. I just keep racking up the data from doing the downloads. But no, we truly do appreciate it. The numbers every time that we look at it, just they blow your mind. Right? It's what started off as a fun little hobby is at 91 episodes today. It's episode 91. We're rolling up on 100 in no time.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And we know that we're not going to ever be the super biggest Joe Rogan podcast because,
who says that?
Well,
I dare.
We talk 2 towers and we're 4 towers. So eventually it's either the towing industry is going to die out or we're going to die out because, it's towing.
No. Our numbers will continue to grow. Joe Rogan, I'm coming for you.
Okay. If you didn't know what a lie sounded like coming out of his mouth, you now know.
If you are, by the way, in Ontario, I just received an email today. If you are in Ontario, the Ontario Tow Show has been announced for the month of September in 2023.
It's been announced for a month now.
Okay, but what's reminding me is because I got, when we're going to have to go ahead and book soon, the hotels are available to book.
That cabin situation last year was horrendous. We're not doing that.
We're not doing the cabin. It's the same hotel that we stayed at where the rate is, and it is a very reasonable rate.
Yeah.
So if you aren't a part yet, go ahead and join your local association, and you will get all the information, the follow-ups, the good deals on the hotels, all the information you're going to need. They're celebrating the 25th year anniversary of the PTAO this year, so it is bound to be a great tow show. Yeah. So that's my little bit.
In towing, there's always so many different things, so many different little tricks of the trade. And I feel like a lot of people have messaged us about, oh, thanks for that little tip there. I'm just new to towing and this isn't something that ever crossed my mind. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. And I know last week you thought I had a question for the almighty, all-knowing Mr. PlainGuy. And that's been racking around in my brain. And I was like, you know what? Let me inflate his ego a little bit. So the question that I came up with, for a lot of us towers, we're not normally close to borders, but every once in a while we may get a tow that has to cross a border. And something like we always talk about on this show is we know what's going on in our province because it's local to us, but we might not know what's going on elsewhere. So the main part of the question is what does it take to be a border crossing tower? Is there any steps that you need to do beforehand, like any different things that you have to apply for crossing from Canada to the United States? Where to find information for hours of operations if you're crossing into the States or different provinces? Where can you get all this kind of information? Because it's not our day-to-day thing, but it might come up.
Absolutely. It is something that's very important to know when it comes to crossing borders, right? It is easy, like I said, to say hang around in whatever part of Ontario. I can't give much knowledge when it comes to the western provinces or even some of the southern states and all that. What I can recommend, your first step is going to be, before you even consider crossing any sort of border, whether it be state, provincial, or international, if you're looking for the best information, the best source that is going to be to reach out to is going to be the state, country, or province in which you are entering their association.
So not Facebook.
Not Facebook. This is not a let's ask Facebook and hope to God one of the 56 people that comment are going to be able to give you an answer that is going to work. Because when you get pulled over in another province, state, or country, the DOT or MTO or equivalent officer is not going to accept John on Facebook told me that this is what I needed. Right? It's not going to work. So from my experience, we're lucky enough to be in a location. I'm almost all but giving it away at this point. That is not only an international border, but as well as a provincial border. Right? So we have, we cross into Quebec, and as well we have the United States. With that comes a ton of headaches. We're one of the few companies that'll cross from Ontario into Quebec. Not many will do it. Why?
Yeah.
Because there is requirements for plating of vehicles over certain gross weights. Requirement on, Ontario has recently brought in hours of service when you're hauling anything but a car, as well as like the mandatory circle checks. There's always you need a circle checks, but now they become mandatory as of this year. That's all new. Quebec had that for a long time. Quebec has had hours of service, and it doesn't matter if you're hauling. To my understanding, it doesn't matter if you're hauling a car or equipment. There's an hours of service when you travel so far outside of a distance of your home base. So, in a case like that, if I was going over to Quebec and I needed to get these answers, my first person would be reach out to what they have is the APDQ.
Okay.
Right, which is the association in Quebec. Every state and every province has an association. I don't know if there's a list of states or provinces that don't. That's my understanding.
We're talking about a towing association?
A towing association, yes. Okay. Because the trucking associations can give you some general information, right? Because in some situations, we are respected or treated the same way as a trucking company. There is no exemption for the towing industry. In other situations, there isn't. So if you can run under whatever the federal, which is normally what the trucking industry falls under, the federal regulations in place, 99% of the time, you are going to be okay.
Yeah. Because
we don't have any stricter. To my best knowledge, there is no restriction that we have that is stricter than the
federal.
The federal trucking regulations or whatever they fall under. So that is also a great resource you can have. Right? Because just because it's not you can get the minimum. You can go to the associations and they'll tell you what the minimum requirements are. There's nothing that's saying that you can't be above that minimum. So if you're really stuck in a spot, you could always reach out to, a Canadian Trucking Association and find out what laws and regulations are when it comes to logbooks. Right? Logbooks, they've gone ELD. They've been ELD for a while. We recently got put into that category.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? If you would have followed their regulations, you would have been fine. There would have been no trouble with that. So every province, for the most part, unless somebody can tell me otherwise, every province, state has a towing association. They would probably be your biggest wealth of knowledge to check into. Right? I've spoken to towers down in the US. Right? The drug requirements for cross-border towers is very different than what we have in Canada, in most parts of Canada. To the best of my knowledge, there is no drug testing requirement for tow operators in Canada. Right? We've legalized marijuana.
Yeah.
Right. Canada has legalized marijuana, and this many states have moved in that direction, but it's still, my understanding, and someone can at me for this, is that it is still federally not recognized or federally not legal. Right. Well, we are federally and provincially.
Yeah.
There's decriminalized. Yeah. And then there's legal. Everyone thinks decriminalized is the same thing. It really isn't. But so, drug testing for that. So as soon as you start to get into crossing the border, depending on what your registered weight is, depending what your license class is, drug testing becomes things that's important. And again, going across the border and getting pulled over and just going, hey man, but I'm from Canada. We don't have that. Isn't going to fly with a state trooper.
Well, yeah, it's just like you're in the States and you're trying to bring a firearm into Canada. Well, we don't allow certain firearms here. It's going to cause you headaches.
Exactly.
Now, piggybacking off of that is, so there is different requirements in this drug enforcement thing that you're talking about. Is there any additional training you would give to certain drivers knowing that they're going to be crossing the border in some frequency over some guy who's just going to be staying in town?
Well, I wouldn't want to send anybody over the border who I'm not comfortable with doing most stuff, because I don't know. There shouldn't be. Again, depends what you're talking. If you're talking this guy's crossing the border going, 5 kilometers into the border or something, then no, I have zero. He's right across the pond. You can go grab him at any point.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, doing long haul, just like I would any driver, though, I wouldn't send a driver 7 hours away to pick up a piece of equipment that I am not confident that he has the ability, not necessarily the direct training, but the ability to work out a problem and turn it into a solution, than I would sending him over into the States. So, or into Quebec. Right. So for the most part, no, I think that applies distance wise, regardless if you are going across border You know, other than maybe tell them don't say bomb.
Huh.
There's an extra little bit of training. It's like
Don't
like
try to joke with the border agents.
do not bother trying to joke with the border agents.
Yeah.
They have zero
Now,
sense of humor.
would you, in your opinion, because you've been in this now for a little while in this situation, is it fairly hard to maintain the border crossing in your professional, like in the company aspect of things?
It's more work.
Yeah.
Right? It is more work. Again, we're talking, permits for provinces, making sure that everything's up to date. We're talking fuel taxes
Mm.
when it comes to province and being international. We're getting into the IFTA regulations and everything like that. There's definitely more clerical work that comes with cross-border towing, whether it be provincial, state, or international.
So do you really blame the smaller companies that may not be located close to the border just to say, no, sorry, we don't do that kind of stuff?
I think if you're in a border town and you're not taking advantage of that work, I think it's I'd have a hard time. If you're within an hour and a half of a border, I feel like you should be fairly versed on what it is, the requirements. But again, it depends on what kind of populated area you're in.
Yeah.
Right? If you were in an area like Toronto, let's say, right? I know Toronto's far from Buffalo. Don't at me. I understand geography. But if you are, you know what I mean, in Toronto and going, I don't do you. No, because you're a highly populated area. I can understand certain companies not wanting to take those steps. If you are in Buffalo or in Niagara Falls and you don't do cross border, you are leaving a ton of money on the table.
Yep.
Right? Because your business is coming from that area. Right? Like you're going to have cross border work. So yeah, like I said, depending on what your distance is, I would say within an hour to an hour and a half, depending on what your population levels are in the area and what your how flooded with towing companies you are or saturated the towing industry is in your area. I think you could be leaving money out on the table, but I do understand certain companies just going, it's not worth it. It's too much headache. It's too much paper. It depends on what your company is built around, right? Like that company has been built around a focus on, we will get it done.
Yeah.
And not only will we just get it done, because that's an approach that can be taken very interestingly in the towing industry.
Yeah.
But it is about, we're going to get it done right, safe, proper, and all those things. But we are going to get it done professionally and properly. And so,
but those two key aspects come with a price tag inflation too.
well, there's got to the industry. There has to be.
Yeah.
Right. Like if my admin is so much higher, and I'm working on ACE and ACIs for crossing the border, right? I've got to send that off to get clearance. Right. There's different paperwork that you have to do for doing these boards, depending on what you're taking back. Right. Are you taking back a imported unit? Someone that's importing something. So someone that has bought something in the States. Are you bringing back a broken down tractor? Right. There's paperwork and everything that comes with that and costs that come to the company. Yeah. So I don't say it's a fact of, because you, just like anything, you can't just charge because no one else wants to do it. Yeah. Right. That's a false inflation, and in my opinion can be used as gouging. Yeah. But again, you have to be paid for your services. So as long as you can sit back and justify why these charges exist and what they cover and give a good breakdown, I'm all for absolutely charging more if you've got to cross the border. And it's not because no one else will do it. It's because it costs me, it's going to cost you. Welcome to commerce, right? Welcome to a business that's not a nonprofit.
Now, I know for myself personally, when I'm towing ship boxes, because I mostly tow ship boxes, I try not to go through someone's vehicle. I check to look in the window, make sure that the brake's not on, strap the steering wheel, whatever I got to do. Now, if I was to cross a border with a car on my truck, I would probably kind of want to go through that vehicle with a fine-tooth comb just so I know what I'm hauling. Because just like the airport, did you pack your suitcase? Do you know what's in your suitcase? Well, that car is pretty well a suitcase that you're dragging across the border. Is there anything that you normally do extra to justify in keeping your operators safe from getting hung up on the border?
You know what? That's an awesome question. That is a great question. In my personal experience, we've never had a problem with it. And to my knowledge, and it's something I'll look into because I definitely love to hear stories on this, we haven't had an issue with.
Okay.
However, a lot of times, and again, depends on the situation. If you're crossing over with a car, I mean, it's something that could happen. A perfect example is we go to the States often enough and we do what we call swaps.
You
So
take a tractor down, you bring a tractor back.
A trucking company has had a truck that is broken down somewhere. And so what they will do is they will call us and we will pick up a good unit from their yard. We will tow the good unit down. We will unhook the good unit and we will hook up the bad unit and we will return the bad unit. So who is not saying that that driver had something in his truck
that he picked up while he was in the States?
That he was picked, or that he maybe already went across the border with. Yeah. I've never ran into that situation. Now, I would go to assume that just like most laws, when it comes to hauling anything, you're responsible for your load. And in that case, your tractor is your load. So, I would definitely, a lot of times people come with you. Like a swap is a situation where they don't. Recently I had a couple that broke down and were heading over to the stateside. Like they were from there. They came over here, got in an accident. Sorry, they didn't break down. They got in an accident. They wanted the vehicle towed back to their, onto the U.S. side of their home. So they're with you. The RO of the vehicle is with you. We've got all the documents. We've got all the paperwork. At that point, I would hope that the, border guards would understand that if something were to be in that vehicle, that this DRO, we're just a towing company. They're responsible for their vehicle. Again, I've never ran into it. I've ran into situations where we're located. Our border is kind of weird. We do have a side of Canada that when we go visit, when we come back, we have to go through a border inspection. Currently, they actually have like a local traffic only lane, which means you never crossed into the States, which is normally you don't need your ID. You don't need anything. It's just where you're coming from. They can check. They got the technology. Come on. They know if you've been to the States.
They got plate readers and stuff.
Exactly. Right. They have all that stuff. And I came across with a truck and the RO, when I had picked it up, or who I believe to be the RO, was not very forthcoming with information. In my defense, I never left Canada. As I pulled through the inspection, they asked if they could pull that truck over and have a look at it in secondary inspection. He's not with me. I'm by myself. And I made it very clear to the officer. I said, I have zero problems with that. I will be fully cooperative with anything that you want. Just know I don't want to be responsible if there's something on this. All I am doing is towing a disabled vehicle. That border agent was very understanding. Said to me, let's just come over here. I let them search. I kind of just went off and waited in the side. They don't want you obviously around while they're searching. I just sat there and nothing was found. Nothing was found. Had something been found, like I said, I would hope that
you might not be here being able to do this podcast with me.
I might still be hiding in a jail somewhere in like Windsor. So no, I like I said, I never ran into the problem, but you would think that common sense would apply. You would think. But
you would hope, but you're dealing with federal governments, right? You're technically the driver. You're transporting a vehicle, that vehicle smuggling drugs, and you're the only guy to blame. Then,
well, that's it. Hey, let's not beat around the bush. Don't even worry about a cross border. This could happen running in your own province.
Oh yeah,
right. Load a car up that's full of drugs and tow it long distance and. Cop pulls you over because they ran the plate and the vehicle is known to be affiliated with something. Who's responsible? Right? Unless you can have a way to prove that, this was just a called in service. And I mean, there's even ways to fake that. You'd have to go through, we're giving criminals ideas here. But there's definitely ways that could be, done. So I wouldn't worry so much about borders. I would think about that in a day-to-day situation as well.
Yeah, and like I said, bringing this up, it's not something that's going to really come up too often where you might have to cross the border, but it's definitely a conversation to have with your company, especially if you're not really, even if you're just a driver for said company, ask your manager, your supervisor, your owner, what is our policy for cross-border stuff? Is that an option for us? Is it something that you ever thought about doing? And just so that you know more about your company, and it also shows that you give a shit because you're potentially bringing a new source of income, opening up a new avenue for them if they want to go down that avenue.
Ultimately, the decision is going to come down to your ownership. Right. Because it is something that is not just like, hey, tomorrow we're going to start going across the border. It doesn't work that simple. There's research to be done. There's people to contact. There's things to put in place well before you decide. How many times do you see that, right? People, hey, anyone go into this province or whatever, because You know, and we've built a leg of business that is just that.
Mm-hmm.
We will go to the States. We will go to Quebec and pick up vehicles and bring them back to our border town for other providers or other companies to come pick up, because we've taken the hassle out of it. Right? Like, we've taken you can still get that tow.
It's the one time a middleman is actually beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find companies that are willing to do that. So same thing, if you have that situation you run into, it's not a bad time. Call the company that's near a border town. And you can probably negotiate something that you can still, if you're billing a customer, you can work into the cost and add your admin markup on. Right? That's how business works. You know, if I'm going to charge you $50, don't charge the customer $50. Cover your cost and of admin and everything that goes with it. So yeah.
Charge them 70 and pocket an extra 20 for yourself.
That's not how that works, but yes. That's the PlainGuy way of things, or the PlainGuy, the TowManG way of things. Oh yeah, no, it's definitely, like I said, your best bet is to always reach out to any associations, whether it be state, provincial, to where you're going to be traveling. Get the information right from them. Call the police in that area, right? It's so much better. Everyone always on Facebook. What do I need to run in Georgia?
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, maybe instead of asking, you know, the internet, why don't you ask the people that are going to pull you over in Georgia? Yeah. That would be a great place to start. The guy that is going to write you the ticket, the dot officer, or the Georgia State Police, maybe give them a call. Say, hey, I got this run coming up, but no one wants that. It's such a lazy generation we live in, where it's like, does anyone know what time Walmart's open till?
How are the roads outside? Is it snowy?
Like, have you tried calling them? Like, have you tried looking on the website?
Yeah.
Have you tried
Google Maps? Give them a call. I do that all the time. Call a gas station. Hey, you guys open? You got diesel?
Yep. 100%. I've been there. Yeah. You open? Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. We're 24 hours. Cool. You got diesel? Nope. Oh, shit.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you anyways. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Can you tell me who does? Because I'm getting real low. But no, that's the lazy generation, right? And there is times where that apply, right? We see that through towing groups. Hey, live job. This is what I'm running into. Yeah. Anyone that can help. I mean, it wouldn't be my first. I feel like I've been blessed and lucky enough to have met a lot of great and smart towers, much smarter than myself. That I don't need to go ask the 72 keyboard warriors on social media. I can call them and ask them and get an idea of things, right? And again, I'm not going to call a guy and ask him about state or provincial regulations unless I know he is a reputable company within that state or province. Yeah. Hey, this is what's going on. Recently, we had a question about drug testing, right? As I was going through a course for it, and I had a question for it. What did I do? I reached out to some great companies, and actually, I'll give them a shout out. The guys down at the Tow Business Podcast. Yeah. I reached out to Jeff, and I said, "Hey, Jeff, here's a problem I'm having. Right? This is something I've looked into. Hey, no problem. Let me go check with my safety and compliance guy and get you an answer on that." The people that are the worst and that are going to do the most damage to themselves, their company, or their reputation are the ones that believe they're the smartest guy in the room. I don't believe I'm the smartest guy in towing. No. If you notice, all the answers I gave you were go check with people that are smarter than me, within associations, within police forces, within all these things. Don't have too much of an ego to go ask a question from somebody who may or may not be smarter than you.
Oh, so you're not the almighty, all-knowing Mr. PlainGuy?
I am the almighty and all-knowing Mr. PlainGuy. I am not the almighty and all-knowing towing Mr. PlainGuy. 11 years, and I'm still learning every day, just like you. Yeah. Just like you. I'm just better at learning. That's the difference between you and I.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't put that past you, I guess. Not a great learner.
I'm not a great learner.
You got to make the same mistake a couple of times before it starts cluing in. Hey, maybe I shouldn't do that again.
You know who needs more learning?
Who?
This next video that we are going to play. So, if you haven't, this was the best timing of this video. So, right before we are sitting down to record, I happen to be going on Facebook. letting my dog out. She's going for a pee, everything else.
One thing Facebook's good for is content. Yeah.
Absolute. Oh, there is no shortage of content when it comes to towing in the Facebook world.
This is not the recovery of the month, just so you know.
Yeah,
It is a recovery,
exactly.
but it's
I'm
not going to be
storing
the
that
recovery.
on the screen. But no, so letting the dog out and going through social media, and I see this video, and I absolutely just I sent it to you right away.
Mm-hmm.
I was outside, I sent it, I came in, I'm like, we got to get this thing downloaded. This is a great clip.
Yeah.
So for those of you on the audio side, I do apologize. You really do need to head over to YouTube and watch this. Maybe we'll put it up with this clip on social media. This is what's the word I can use without getting in trouble? G, do you have a word for this? You're the social media or YouTube uncensoring person.
YouTube uncensoring person?
Yeah, like the person that's not going to get us censored when you say things. What would you call this gentleman operating this truck?
I would call him a...
Perfect. So for the audio listener, what it is a video of somebody recovering a car with a rotator from a ditch. So we'll play the clip, and I'll come back to give a full explanation on it.
It is a deep ditch.
That's up for debate. So we'll play the video, and we'll come back to it. That angle's beautiful.
You want me to put my winch on it?
Love it. And it's out. And all the way back. And it's back on the...
Nice.
Not the word I would use.
That was nice.
No, it wasn't. No.
The rotator thought that car was its child on a swing and tried to swing it across the road and back and forth. And
it was not nice.
You want me to put my winch on it?
That's my favorite part. You want me to put my winch on it? Nah, watch what the new 50-ton rotator my boss got me can do.
It's so much overkill, yet underkill at the same time.
This is a perfect example of just because you have a rotator doesn't mean you should be allowed to operate a rotator. Right? I am not, and I've had this argument with people before. I am not, and I'm not going to bother having it here. I'm not even going to shit on the guy for using that thing to recover that car.
Yeah.
Whatever. The truck was going by. It was the quickest response. It was a police call. I don't care. You're never going to get paid your rate on it, judging by the car. But you could still do a job. So for the audio listeners, this guy is recovering. And really head over to YouTube and check this out. It's the best place to find it. Yeah. This operator is recovering a car that is 90 degrees from the road with the nose into the ditch with some front end damage. And I mean, damage is fairly minor.
There is a fair bit of standing water in said ditch, though. So,
is that water down there?
That looks like water. Like, look at the mud on the front tire of the car. Like,
yeah, but I think there was no. I'm going to mute it and play it as we go. But there's no water that came. Like you even see in the front of the car. Like if that thing was submerged in water, when
I'm not saying it was submerged.
No, but the front end would have been submerged. If you're saying that is all water in that ditch, yeah.
But look at the angle he's also pulling it out on. It probably drip dried pretty good, and there's water coming out of the door.
Okay, so fine. Even that, regardless, there was water in the ditch. I agree with you. There was a guy sitting in the car throughout that whole thing too. I don't know if you know that part of it. Yeah, he waves at him.
Oh,
I don't think it's the customer. I'm going to assume it's not the customer. So, anyways, this Mazda 6, it looks like, is nosed into the ditch, 90 degrees to the road. And he is using his rotator to pull it out. So he has ran, I'll give him credit, soft rigging through the rims. Right? Mm-hmm. Good job on that. But he has ran his rotator at such an angle that he's way behind the car. So rotator.
He's not winching with his rotator. He's using the pivot of the boom to pull the car out.
No, he could still be winching. I don't think he was rotating that whole time.
Well, no, because you keep hearing the beeper of the rotator moving in the video.
My rotator doesn't beep when it moves.
Like when you move the boom?
Yeah.
Well, that one sure does.
I believe he is actually just winching. At that point, he is just winching. So, anyways, he gets his car.
The boom's moving itself.
Well, maybe. Regardless, I don't even care. This is a moo point. So, he has got this thing pulled with his boom angle so far behind it, right? And what is the one thing that things are going to do anytime you pull them? And they're going to want to center, right? That's the whole concept of winching when you have an overhead angle. which he does. So instead of different things he could have done, first of all, I want to know what the other guy is operating for him to say, do you want me to put my winch on it? Are we talking light duty? Are we talking whatever?
Yeah.
He then pulls this thing. Well, when this thing finally, those front tires reach their peak point, you've got the ass end of this car 6 feet in the air. What does it do? It comes out, it rolls, and it rolls away. And it rolls away and it centers to the winch lines. The problem is an object in motion will stay in motion until there's a greater force to stop it. And that's exactly what this does. This car now rolls across an entire road, right? A 2-lane road plus shoulders. I'm hoping they had the whole road closed while they were doing it. There was no need for it, but I'm hoping they did. And then gets all the way to the end of the line. Lines get tight again. Ass end of the car lifts up, spins back around. If he would have done a 90-degree spin on it and placed it in the lane, I would have given him credit and said it was nice, even though it was not advised.
I think he was moving with the boom because as that car is rolling away from him, you hear the beeping start again as he's pulling the boom back to try to keep the car. Like, just play it one more time with the audio one.
You want me to put my winch on it?
There's the beeping. Beeping stops. Beeping starts again.
He's trying to bring his boom back to stop it from traveling so far.
That is a Century rotator, and I think they do come with.
You want me to put my
beepers.
winch on it? You want me to put my winch on it? You want me to put my winch on it?
No. I want him to remove his winches from it. I absolutely want him to remove his winches from it, drive that truck back to the shop, and leave it in the hands of an operator who knows what the hell he is doing. That's all I'm asking for here. It's not
You want me
much.
to put my winch on it?
I think it's more so laziness too. Like, if they got that car
That's
out of the
so lazy.
water, they could have switched the one line to the front of the car and then spun it sideways to get it out onto the road, so it's actually sitting parallel with them, not like against them.
If buddy who's operating the camera, who says nice, would have put his line on it, there is much more control they could have had. There's multiple things you could have done differently. You could have rigged from a point of, to bring the two wheels like a 4-point corner and actually lifted the vehicle straight up. But I understand, like you're saying, it was probably down in the water, down in the mud. They didn't want to get down there. Even at this angle that they are at, if they were to lower that boom, or even release those winch lines, that car would start to settle. He's almost at its cresting point.
Yep.
And he could have easily at that point, I tried to time that, didn't work, put his winch on it. Like, even like right before the drop, right? I think it moves a little bit more right there. This is a perfect balancing point.
Yep.
All he would have to do is grab that other wheel with a soft rigging in this front corner. And hook it and bring it around while that guy slowly releases his winches, which will then in turn bring the vehicle down, keep it from rolling away, and you will have control of that vehicle all the way.
Well,
There's
not even
no
that. You could have easily done it with the single truck. If he put the ass end of that car down, it's probably not going to go anywhere because it's bottomed out on the edge of the road there.
On the rockers on the edge of the road.
He could have pulled his truck ahead and grabbed the front passenger side rim and just pulled it over.
Why even pull his truck? There's clearly a guy with a winch.
Yeah.
Because he asked him, do you want me to put my winch on it?
Maybe it's only like an ATV with a little winch. You
Winch
don't
on
know.
it.
Right? Like, maybe it's the guy that lives up the street that came down with his riding lawnmower with his Canadian Tire winch on it. And he's sitting there going, you want me to put my winch on it?
I don't think this is Canadian.
Whatever. They have Canadian. Do you guys have Canadian Tire down south? I imagine they do.
American Tire?
America
Tire.
No, it would definitely be America Tire.
Well, just from the way he says, you want me to put my winch on it, doesn't really sound Canadian.
You want me to put my winch on it?
It's my favorite. That was nice.
Nice. But anything is nice to an untrained eye.
This is such a falsely inflated idea that went well.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not like, we always talk about it, like, I'm not trying to shit on the guy and go, you're an idiot. But at the same time, if you don't know what you're doing, imagine that this operator thinks that was nice, which means this operator now has a standard set in what is a good recovery.
Yeah.
Now, judging by, and I do believe the gentleman that posted this on the group in which I found it was the guy from the video. Because I did see a lot of trying to correct and defend. And people have made this mistake before and posted something that they truly believed was a good job or a job well done.
Yeah.
And they get lit up. The advice I could give you, sir, don't reply to the comments. Let it do its thing. And don't give anybody ammunition. This was not. We will use this as an educating moment. Education with PlainGuy. This was not a good recovery. This was in no way, shape, or form. There is no reputable person in the towing industry that'll tell you that this was a successful recovery job. At the end result, the car is out. Yes. That is not the only thing that matters.
You know what? I think posting this video on Facebook is actually a good thing, because you normally learn on smaller things, right? You're like, hey, that technique worked. Let's do it on bigger things. If he thinks this technique works, what happens when that's a 20,000 pound dump truck? And he tries that.
He's rolling that rotator.
He's rolling that rotator over. So him getting flack on a 4,000 pound car, I don't think there's actually anyone in that vehicle. By the way,
I swear I seen somebody wave from inside.
No, that was the guy out in the high vis standing on the other side.
Oh,
Anyways,
I really thought there was somebody in it. That makes me sad.
Anyways, if he gets blown up in the comment section for this recovery so much, hopefully he'll realize, hey, maybe this isn't quite the correct way to do things. So he'll change his habits in future.
Maybe.
Because if he did this on anything heavier, that could have been disastrous for his company.
Not even anything. He's lucky that wasn't. Like, it doesn't look like I got the road closed. And if you need the whole road closed to do it, you're all right. There's nobody in the car. It's the gentleman that's behind him. It does look like there's a traffic truck on the backside. So they have closed the whole road to do this, which, again, I'm not saying you could probably do it within a lane. Again, going above and beyond and having the whole road closed isn't the problem. The problem is that's a nice rotator, too. And the fact that that guy is operating it without... I want to say the operator. So there's two problems here. The operator of the rotator, in my advice, is ill-trained. And the gentleman who is watching him wrench this out, which, again, it's a nice rotate. Like, it seems like a decent truck. And then that bang and that lift at the back. Like, and the wheels rotating and like, it's just, yeah, that was nice. No, it wasn't. Like, there was no point of this where... And that's what I hate is I got no problem with learning and making mistakes and all that. It was the false inflation that was a recovery. So I, say anybody that, if you were watching this video, I apologize for shitting on you for the last 10 minutes. However, that being said, take some advice. Head over somewhere, get some training from some operators, talk to some people, and maybe not start arguing with everybody in the comments in which you posted the video, because I know you posted it with good intentions. You wanted to show off your work. You were proud of what happened. But take the L. Just take the L.
It's also dangerous too, right? Like, what if there's someone standing over there?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, you might have done a good job of making sure everyone was in safe spots in case something did go wrong or something like this. Maybe that was your plan, so you already had the area cleared. But, like, if you didn't think that the car was going to cross the road and you had that road open, things could have been a lot worse.
Okay, let me ask you this. What's worse? If that was the plan? Like, if that end result on how that came out, if he sat there and went, that's exactly what I was going for, is that worse or better?
I think that's better, because then at least he would know where the car is going and he would get the road shut off prior.
I think it shows that he has an even more, or the operator has an inflated sense of, like, how to do a recovery even more. I think it's worse. If that is the plan. I'm a big believer that more of, oh shit, went sideways is better. I went in with good intentions. I had a plan. The plan didn't execute his plan. That happens. I mean, I don't know how you thought that plan was going to go any other way, but not that scenario. But to go in with that as the expected result, that's a great question for the, you know what I mean? Whenever things go bad and you see these bad recoveries, I'll leave that with the listeners for this week. Okay. Is it worse if you see a recovery like this? Let me ask you this exact recovery. Is it worse that if that was the intended plan or if the plan just went sideways? My opinion, it's worse if that was the intended plan.
That's a good weekly wonder.
It's a great weekly wonder. So maybe we'll put that up. Maybe we'll start having video aid weekly wonders. I've downloaded the video now. I have it. He can go delete it off social media. I don't care. I still have the video. I have it and I will cherish it. And I assure you that I will bring this video into my company and use it for training.
Training footage only.
This is a quick way to some walking papers.
Yeah.
If you're never sure, make a phone call. As I sit here ignoring phone calls while we record.
Good.
So
put us first for once, would you?
What's that?
Put me first for once, would you?
Put you first for once. You sound like my wife. That being said, we thank you guys once again for coming out every week to the Towing Life podcast. We could not have the fun or be in the spot that we are because of each and every listener and viewer over on YouTube. So thank you. Do not forget, hit the like and subscribe down below. Rate and review over on Spotify, Amazon Music, and all of those places. And if you are not a part of a provincial or state association, join one now. On behalf of myself and Mr. TowManG, we can't wait. See you again next week. Take care.
Toodles.